Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a while, but I wanted to show you the build that I played last league in Ritual um, that I think could be a really good league starter for the upcoming Ultimatum League. And pretty much any league. I only pretty much played this one build, and I was surprised how well it did, but I want to show you the main idea of it first. It is an Autobomber, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the map, and then I'll go into a little bit more depth into the gear and skill tree. But the main idea is that it's an auto bomber, so we're trying to keep Herald of Thunder up at all times, and instead of, well, I guess instead of Herald of Ice, which a lot of times you use to like create explosions based on Herald of Thunder, I'm using impulses. This isn't mandatory, but the main idea is that this item is a complete game changer for auto bombers and Herald of Thunder. So this is the Storm Secret Ring, and this isn't terribly expensive. It was like 30 chaos, I think, at the start of Ritual. So it's not something you can get immediately, but it's something you could get on your first character by starting off with like Arc. And you'll see when I get into the gear and stuff, like it's pretty easy to start this with Arc. It's a lightning character, elementalist, but what this ring does is make it so that you don't have to kill an enemy with Herald of Thunder to shock, or sorry, you don't have to kill a shocked enemy to trigger Herald of Thunder. All you have to do is shock, and it increases the frequency at which Herald of Thunder strikes. So it makes Herald of Thunder insane for single targets. It basically makes it viable to do pretty much all content, which I'll show you on like a tier 15 map. And you can have two of these rings. So the only downside is that you take reflected lightning damage, but that actually plays to our advantage because the second part of the main idea is that we have a cast when damage taken setup. We actually have a few of them, but the main one is with Hydrosphere, which was a new skill. So cast when damage taken level 1 to get Hydrosphere popping as often as possible. And then with that, we have Hex Touch and Elemental Weakness. So basically all the time, like we have an Arc set up somewhere else, yeah, over here, which just has like one support gem. Yeah, it literally has one support gem because all it's trying to do is shock. It's enough to shock with the Elementalist node basically anything in the game. So once we have one shot going, our Herald of Thunder starts, and then we're taking reflected damage, and we're basically going to have Hydrosphere up all the time. And what that does is Hydrosphere is going to be the target of our Herald of Thunder, and it's gonna get itself get shocked. So I'll show you in the map. Put this up. Basically Hydrosphere is gonna get shocked by everything that's going on, and then so it's gonna be applying exposure, which is gonna like basically allow all of our damage to like be amplified by the Elementalist node, which is this one. No, this one, which like amplifies up all the exposure. So it's applying exposure, which is going to like amplify all our damage, but more importantly, because it gets, actually, I'm sorry, what the Hydrosphere is getting shocked by is Wave of Conviction. So this is on another cast when damage taken setup. When the Wave of Conviction comes out, it shocks the Hydrosphere. Basically, the Hydrosphere is going to be shocked at all times. That's also, like, every time that happens, is going to refresh your Herald of Thunder. The Wave of Conviction is not going to, when it shocks a Hydrosphere, doesn't refresh Herald of Thunder, but when Hydrosphere gets shocked, it pulses lightning damage, which then like ensures that everything is permanently getting shocked, which keeps up your Herald of Thunder. It's a little bit complicated, but this, like, damage loop with the Storm Secret having Wave of Conviction and Hydrosphere basically allows us to sustain Herald of Thunder at all times. So before I mix up my words anymore, I'll just show you how it works real quick. So there's a bunch of other bells and whistles like Steel Skin on Walk. I had General's Cry. Don't worry about this. This is getting nerfed anyways, but go into a map, I cast Arc once, and now Hydrosphere is popping out, and it's keeping everything shocked. I also have Rampage on my gloves, which is just another nice bell and whistle. But you can see I basically just have to hit this once, and then Rampage does work. The Hydrosphere is always right behind me. Everything's getting shocked. Impulses is just a nice to have to help with the clear speed. It's not really needed. But I think Impulses was actually pretty cheap in Ritual League as well. So it might be pretty doable, but yeah, this is what it looks like. Again, this is a tier 15 map. So I just press all my flasks. Because the damage is so good, like the increased frequency of Herald of Thunder and how juiced up it is, I can afford to invest a lot in defenses, so I have a lot of life. I have roomies, and it's pretty comfortable. I can basically just walk through the map. This is even with shield ground, which is kind of annoying. But it's pretty good. The other thing that I really like about this character is that there are a lot of sort of incremental upgrades that take longer to get, but feel really good as like a natural progression as you progress with your league starter and get more currency. And a lot of those upgrades come in the form of getting like +1 gems on Herald of Thunder through like your amulet and your weapon. Eventually, even like as a corrupted mod on your Impulsa. I did not have a chance to risk that on my 6-link Impulsa in the league, but that's one of the eventual upgrades. Just stuff like that, like helm enchantments. And yeah, so the build is pretty comfortable. I want to get to the boss real quick too, so I can show you that the single target is really good. The single target is surprisingly good because when you isolate one target like a boss and kill all the mobs or like the ads, all those increased Herald of Thunder procs are going to be hitting the same target, which just does crazy damage. So here's Yugal, and you'll see like he's getting phased basically immediately. But the single target damage is like deceptively better than the clear, which is what you would expect to be the strong point for an Autobomber. But yeah, like the ads dead instantly, Yugal's gonna get phased immediately again. The only downside of the single target is that you kind of have to stand close, like relatively close to the boss. You can't like off-screen them just because of the radius of Herald of Thunder. But I mean, that was pretty clean. So I think that pretty much illustrates everything I wanted to show with the main idea. Again, just to say it more simply, Wave of Conviction is shocking Hydrosphere, which is applying exposure and shocking other stuff, which keeps up your Herald of Thunder, which then in turn is reflecting the damage back at you, which you are using to sustain the cast when damage taken loop on Wave of Conviction and Hydrosphere. This damage that you take is also mitigated just by having Lightning Leech, which is super easy to get early in the league. You can get it with like an Incursion amulet. I'm getting it with Doriani's Lesson, but the skill tree is pretty straightforward. Like I said, Elementalist, obviously taking the exposure, taking the more elemental damage. This is obviously we're taking like shock effectiveness, so even the wimpy Hydrosphere shock on bosses is making them take a ton more lightning damage. And then I took the Legion of the Primordial because this node doesn't work with the reflected damage. Like the reflected damage just eats your Aegis constantly, so you never have it up, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But otherwise, spell damage obviously doesn't work on Herald of Thunder, so you just come over here, take the lightning node, life. It's just mostly life, a lot of cluster jewels, getting lightning damage, getting damage while you have a herald, more life. Some really good cluster nodes to look out for are obviously the Doriani's Lesson with the leech. This one, lightning damage with non-crits, is lucky. That one is really helpful, big damage boost. And this one's pretty good too. Lightning damage is extra cold. What else? Any other tricks? This is going away, the Vigil Fortify stuff, but honestly I had that the whole league and I pretty much never used it just because I'm not nice like that. It's too much. It was too much. I only ever pressed the button on really hard bosses, and I did relatively fine. So that nerf shouldn't hit too hard. I guess I also have Elemental Overload. I assume that because Wave of Conviction and Hydrosphere are just popping out so often and hitting so often that they crit pretty regularly. I wasn't even paying attention to how often this was up, but it's definitely a boost. And yeah, that's about it. Otherwise on gear, just get a helm enchantment, but lots of life. This is one of the eventual upgrades, getting plus gems. Get plus gems on a shield. Get life. The reason we take a shield is to just get life and plus gems. Obviously your Storm Secret Rings. Impulses is great for clear because of the explosions. During Ritual, even 6-link impulses were relatively cheap. But anyways, the links are Herald of Thunder, Added Lightning, Empower, Lightning Pen, Energy Leech. Okay, that's another thing I haven't covered yet, and Hypothermia. So Hypothermia is good because we have this, what is it? Lightning damage is extra cold. So we are doing cold damage, and some of our other cluster nodes are giving us like chance to freeze and shock. So that plus like this node, and I think even the Elementalist has some of that stuff too. I don't know if it still has chance to shock. Maybe not. But even like 30%, that's plenty enough to like chill our Hydro Flask or Hydrosphere and freeze it sometimes. And so that is then in turn, shoot, what was I looking at? Oh yeah, so that in turn is giving us the Hypothermia, which is boosting our damage. Herald of Thunder is one of those skills that is a little bit like weak with links, but this is a good one that we get with kind of this cheeky damage conversion plus chance to freeze on the Hydrosphere. So if the Hydrosphere is like chilling stuff and Herald of Thunder does cold damage, then it might just freeze one of those chilled enemies with Hypothermia and do a ton of extra damage. Then Energy Leech is the other tricky one. Because I just have a little bit of energy shield that's constantly getting like zapped down by my reflected damage. I'm basically always leeching energy shield. So I'm getting the full 39% more damage while leeching like at all times. And this is like a really sneaky way to get a nice more multiplier on Herald of Thunder. So yeah, I guess the good news is Hypothermia is like a little bit sketchy potentially. It's not always up, and maybe not up a lot during single targets, but it should be. I mean, because the Hydrosphere is getting frozen, it should be chilling most bosses, so this should be up a lot. But your 5-link isn't going to be terrible. And then the last trick, yeah, this is just more life and res. The last trick is just getting Rampage on gloves, which helps a lot for clearing because you're getting the more movement speed, and all that Rampage bullshit obviously helps with clear, the explosions, the weapons, all that stuff. And then on your Scepter, you just get more plus gems, plus lightning skill gems and lightning damage. And that's it. That's everything. Flash, Wise Oak, Roomies, and you're good to go. And like I said, to level up, you can just play Arc, Steel Skin on left click. I also just have Portal. This is going away. And that's it. That's everything. So I hope this is interesting to you guys. I already did this, so I'm not going to do it again, but I wanted to share it with you guys who might not be interested in playing the new Bleed stuff. I know it's very confusing, and I've come up with a build that I'm not very sure about either, so definitely consider this. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop by my stream. I'm going to be streaming a little bit, hopefully, during the start of Ultimatum, so happy to answer any questions and potentially show you what you missed with the Bleed stuff, which I'll be trying. So yeah, enjoy. See you guys later.